Let's look into pivot table. A pivot table is a powerful tool to calculate, summarize, and analyze data that lets us to see comparisons, patterns, and trends in the data. So this is the sample data that we have. We have 6 fields here. These are said to be the fields. So let's create a pivot table for this data. To create the pivot table, first select any of the cell in the data. Then click on Insert Pivot Table. Excel will automatically select the data set for us. So let's have the data in this new worksheet. Giving OK. We have to drag the fields to these areas. Say for this data, let's create the amount being exported for each of the product. As we are calculating the amount being exported to each of the product, we need to have the product in the rows. So let's drag product into the rows. As we are calculating the total amount being exported, we are dragging the amount to the values here. Let's have country into the filters. So this is the table that we have created. We have quickly created a report containing the total amount being exported for each product. You can see the values here. This is a one-dimensional table because we have only the rows, not the columns. If you want to have the data for any particular country, you can select that country here. Say for United States, we have the United States data here. Say we want to sort these rows. By default, these rows are sorted out in ascending order. Suppose if you want to sort out this in the descending order, just right click here, go to sort option here and give sort setting. Now it is sorted out in the descending order. Next, suppose if you want to actually add the expand or the collapse options here. Say if you want to expand the detail, like if you want to add the extra information to these rows. Say we can add the country information for these products. Then just go to this particular option and give expand entire field. If you give expand entire field, then we will be expanding all the rows. I'm giving expand entire field here. It asks for the field which we want to add here. I'm selecting country so that we'll get the country information for each of the rows here. Give OK. We have got the country information here. If you want to collapse all of these rows, then just give collapse entire field. It's done. Suppose if you want to remove this expand option itself, just go to analyze and click on this button. It will be removed. Next, suppose if you want to group these rows, say I want to have the fruits and vegetables separately, then we can select the fruits first. Orange, mango, banana and apple. Select it, right click, group. Let's change the group name. to fruits. Next, we'll have these 3 rows into a separate group. Select them, right click, group. Change the group name. So we have 2 separate groups here. Suppose if you want to ungroup it, then just select the cell that has the group name, right click, ungroup. Similarly, here also, if you want to ungroup this, ungroup. Suppose if you want to perform a different function here, apart from adding the amount, here we have actually calculated the sum of amount that's been exported for each of the products. But suppose if you want to find, say, the max amount being exported for each of the product, then we can just select this amount, go to value field, settings. Here instead of sum, select max and give OK. Now the max amount being exported for each of the product is getting displayed here. So this is the sample one-dimensional pivot table. Now we'll create a two-dimensional pivot table. To get the total amount being exported to each country of each product, we have to have the country in the rows, product in the columns. We can have categories in the filters. You can see here, now we have a two-dimensional table with the rows and columns. We'll create a pivot chart. To create a pivot chart, first select the cell in the pivot table. Give me a pivot chart. Giving OK here. Here we have filters also. This is the data of amount being exported to all the countries and for all the products. Suppose if we want to have any one particular product, we can apply the filter here, say for orange. Then for orange alone, the amount being exported for orange to all the countries, that data is getting displayed here. Similarly, we can have the filters also. Say we want to have only Australia data, then just select the Australia. We'll get the data for Australia alone here. Similarly, category also, say we want to have only the fruits data. We can select fruits and we'll get only the fruits data. Suppose you want to change the chart type here. This is the column chart. Suppose if you want to have the pie chart, then go to design, change chart type, pie chart, giving OK here. This is for orange. Suppose if you want to have it for mango, you can get the mango data. If you want to add the data labels, give data labels here, and the pie chart is done. So this is how you create a pivot chart from a pivot table. A pivot chart is a visual representation of the pivot table. Pivot charts and pivot tables are connected with each other. Whenever there is a change in the pivot chart, it will get reflected in the pivot table, and whenever there is a change in the pivot table, it will get reflected in the pivot chart. That's it.